Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Marvel Plus podcast, the show where we talk the Marvel shows on Disney Plus and how they connect to the MCU. My name is Brett, aka Enigma 9011, and today we are talking Guardians of the Galaxy 3. As of record, dropped this past Friday, so yeah, I'm going to be talking about the movie, all that fun stuff. If you want to catch this show along with others, you can always go over to youtube.com/enigma9011. Check out the videos there. When they drop, give it a like, comment, listen, all that fun stuff. Appreciate you for it. So, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Wrapping up the Guardians of the Galaxy storyline as we know it. Going into the non-spoiler stuff, what were my thoughts overall of the film and things like that. Before we deep dive, I thought the movie overall was great. It was a great time in terms of the MCU. From what we've gotten since Endgame, I think this might have been my favorite, to be honest. I know I've talked about Shang-Chi being up there in terms of obviously a new character and the story that they showed there, along with the action sequences and what they added to the universe. I think that was definitely my favorite for a time. This may sneak past it and be my favorite. Granted, there is a little bit of bias there because I'm already established with these characters. But in terms of the storyline that they told in this film, it was great. It didn't feel like there were any lulls or slow points. We got growth in each of the characters, including characters that personally I didn't really care for, and I felt that got a lot of investment in this film that helped grow them as characters and make them feel more important, or at least you could connect with them more. That was great. The villain that they introduced here, which I should have looked up prior, I think it was the High Conqueror, High something or other, I don't know, but the villain was good, was very compelling as a dickbag. He was very threatening and felt like somebody we could easily root against. Let's see if I can find it here. You suck, Google. Just give me the whole cast. High Evolutionary. That's what it is. High Conqueror. Get out of here. Solid story overall. Character growth was great. And tugged at the heartstrings quite a bit. Now, I was debating whether to put this in the spoiler section or the non-spoiler section. I'm going to put it in the non-spoiler section because I think everybody deserves a fair warning. Now, if you have not seen people post about this online, let me not alleviate you. Let me give you a glimpse behind the curtain. If you've seen the Guardians 3 trailer, you already know we are going to be talking about Rocket's backstory, okay? We know that's going to be at least present in the film. You don't know how much, how little, whatever. I will give you this warning if you have not seen the movie. If you are not a fan of animals getting messed with, as most people should, if you are fine with that, what the fuck is wrong with you? Just be warned. Now, nothing gets super graphic or anything like that, but is definitely going to hit you in the feels. It's going to take that little feeling thing you have and just punch it over and over again. So, just a heads up there. There may be some spots in the film that are a little bit sensitive. I'll leave it at that. Fair warning. All right. So, yeah, I think that's it for my spoiler section. Great movie. Heavily enjoyed it. This felt like it was back on track in terms of excitement for the Marvel Universe, in turn of some of their recent stuff like Doctor Strange and Thor, in my opinion. This felt like it was back on track. Heavily enjoyed it. Had a great time with it. And looking forward to seeing if and what is next from, obviously, Marvel. We know if. And the Guardians, another big if. I don't know what's next for them. So let's get into spoiler section. So once again, full spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now is your time to exit the ride. Make sure you bring all of your belongings that you brought on the transport along with you, and have a great day on the rest of your time here on YouTube. So yeah, full spoilers if you haven't seen the film, or whatever, this is your time to leave if you don't care, or you've seen it. Hey, thanks for sticking along. So Guardians. So I guess biggest spoiler thing, nobody died. Quite a surprise. Nobody died in this film. We thought as the conclusion of the Guardians franchise, or storyline that at least Mr. Gunn has directed for us, we thought there would be some kind of finality or finish to our characters, and they heavily teased towards that in the trailers, obviously to add to the kind of suspense and tension throughout the film. We did not get any death in this film. I'm a little surprised they didn't do at least a character. It seemed like they were going to do it with Rocket, obviously with him being the main storyline of like, we just need to save our friend. They decided not to pull that trigger. We did get obviously the tug at the heartstrings of a moment where just before he was going to die, and a glimpse there, but they decided not to pull the trigger on any of those. Instead, we went the route of people going their separate ways. So in terms of the finish of this movie, we get to see a glimpse at our new team, or new Guardians of the Galaxy. So we have Rocket leading the group with Groot, Raglan, Adam Warlock. Hold on, I'm pulling up the the cast again. Okay, so new Guardians team: Rocket, Groot, Kraglin, the little girl whose name I believe is Phyla. Wow, I'm blanking already. Who was there? Warlock was there, and Cosmo was there. Oh, and the little dude, whose name I don't think we ever got. Mortis? Little man. The little fuzzball dude. So we have our new Guardians there. So we'll see a future with them and see where they go. But in terms of our current Guardians going into the film, we are losing out on Star-Lord. We are losing out on Mantis, Drax, Nebula, and Gamora. They are all kind of going their own way and doing their own thing. Star-Lord has decided to return to Earth to finally reconnect with his grandfather and try and find some peace there, I guess. Mantis is going on her own to discover herself after being controlled by Ego, and then being in the Guardians, just being on her own and independent for a while to see what she wants. Drax is retiring to focus on the children that they saved from the High Evolutionary, and Nebula is going to help rebuild and focus on the community at Nowhere that they have kind of established, while Gamora is going to continue on with the Ravengers. Noted that this is still the Gamora from Endgame, from the 2014 timeline. They do joke about it, like why she's still around and didn't dissipate like the rest of them when the second version of Thanos came in and attacked. And it seems like it could be some hocus pocus with the Infinity Stone, the Soul Stone. So, okay, I'll allow it. But it seems like she will be continuing on with the Ravengers and continuing her own journey there. So we get the conclusion of the character stories just in terms of moving on and not death itself. So we kind of alluded to it in the non-spoiler section, the villain. I think High Evolutionary and the actor, which I'll see if I can find right here. Oh my. I apologize if I butcher this name. Chukwudi Iwuji. I am sorry. Hold on one moment. Can I listen to that? Holy crap, I actually nailed it. Okay. Chukwudi Iwuji. Whew, that's a name. Sir, you did fantastic. He did a great job in his role as the High Evolutionary, and I think he was definitely a threatening villain in terms of just seeing how kind of psychotic that villain is and was. He obviously was trying to play this role of God and create a perfect like society, and seeing him be involved in Rocket's storyline and like creating these different creatures and trying to make perfection, and then eventually doing it with this animal race of people, and then making whole societies. We talked about the Sovereign, like he apparently made those, which was a nice tie-in to Guardians 2, and kind of a nice continuation of the story there, so I appreciate that. And seeing him kind of push to those edges of insanity, of like just so persistent on his cause that he's willing to just throw everything away. I thought he was very good in his role, and the villain itself, knowing nothing about him prior in terms of just, I don't know, anything. He was very good antagonist for the movie and the film. Let's talk about Rocket's storyline. Let's talk about Rocket stuff. Bro, this sucked. Sucked in the best way possible, because it was compelling, it was good, it was just emotional. Seeing what Rocket went through, I had always heard like it was rough in the comics, his backstory, but never have delved into those or really poked my head into it much. I just know he was heavily experimented on, as we were alluded to in the first Guardians movie, torn apart, put back together, all these things. But seeing the CG animals, him as the baby raccoon, taken, experimented on, thrown into the thrown into, how the hell do I do this? I don't know. It's not that. Oh, right. Yeah, there we go. Get out of here. Thrown in, experimented, and then seeing him amongst the other animals and seeing what they had gone through. So seeing Lylla, Teefs, and Floor, man, it just hurt. It hurt so bad. Like, Rocket didn't have anything, luckily, physically, that he had modified about him. Lylla obviously had her arms. Teefs had his tail and replaced with the legs. And then poor Floor. Floor with the limbs being torn off, replaced with the spider legs, the mechanical ones, and then some kind of mouthpiece. Just, you felt like so much sympathy for these guys. And you see their bonding through these flashbacks of their friendship, and obviously they're helping each other out and going through this journey, and they have these high hopes for this new world that the High Evolutionary is building for them, they think, and then to the realization of like they're going to be just done off with at the end, because he's moved on to his next experiment, which is better and more improved in terms of what he thinks. It's heartbreaking, and obviously Rocket tries to help and finds a way for them to escape and embraces Lylla for the first time in a hug, and then, oh my god, that scene was probably the hardest of them all. Was the embrace, the shot, Lylla's dead, and you get, obviously Rocket freaks out, right? What's the word? Understandably, he freaks out, takes care of High Evolutionary. High Evolutionary had called already guards down. Rocket deals with the guards. The worst part of this, probably, in my opinion, before we learn the fate of Teefs and Floor, was they talked about flying away. Lylla gets shot. High Evolutionary is talking to Rocket, and just in the background, you just hear Floor, the bunny, freaking out. What do we do now? What do Teef and Floors do now? What do we do? What do we do? Like, just panicking. And that just ripped me apart. Of just like, because they each had their kind of own you could tell how long they had been there. It seemed like Lila had been there the most time, or at least she had adjusted to the program, or yeah, the program, I guess, the most. Teef next. Floor was like the child of the group other than Rocket, where I don't know if she just didn't increase intelligence quick enough or whatever, but like she was definitely behind in terms of maturity as the rest, and just hearing her freak out the entire time was rough. And then they obviously pass away and die after getting shot by the guards as Rocket takes them out. Was heartbroken with that. Glad to see that, Rocket had that moment of reunion with the three of them as he was on the brink of heaven, death, whatever, afterlife. Getting that closure with them of like, yeah, let's fly together, but not now because you have stuff to do. Like, just, whoa. Taking that knife and just digging right in, just making you feel everything. That sucked. And that is going to make this movie hard for a lot of people to watch, especially in terms of emotion and like how real these movies can feel. Like, this is just something that I feel like the MCU movies haven't really delved into. Like, we had stakes in Infinity War and Endgame, and this brings it back up to that level and might even do it more because we have that. We come to those terms of actual death, and these aren't characters that we've been around or like built a relationship for a long time over the MCU, but that's, I guess, is a testament to how strong this story is and how this narrative is you can establish these characters in such a short time with just this singular film and these flashbacks that it feels like that much more of a gut punch when you finally do see what happens to them, and unfortunately the end of their journey. And also, like, yeah, that's how it should be. These are innocent animals being tested on and tortured and all that stuff. And just to see that this was unfortunately their life and how it just ends is awful. Awful in the best way possible. Of like, it's a great story, but just like it gets the emotions that you need. Like, it needs. It checks those boxes. It just sucks. So very good storytelling there in terms of Rocket's backstory, but obviously get more sympathy for him and, see the journey that he's been through. So that was great storytelling. I enjoyed everybody's growth in this movie. We got Mantis getting a big push in terms of her character and story, and I appreciate that. I still haven't watched the Christmas special, so I yes, I know. I hear you in the background right now. Like, what? In 2, she was just kind of there and kind of seemed like this. I don't know if ditz is the right term, or if a too offensive term, but like, she was kind of there and just was innocent in terms of like her thinking, her terminology wasn't really her own character. She just kind of felt like a lost puppy. And in this one, I really appreciate her getting investment in time and like motivations and interests herself of like how to treat people and what's right, what's wrong, and standing up for herself. I really appreciated that. Drax, we've gotten moments with Drax, but seeing Drax more established and being this caring figure instead of just a destroyer, as we're okay, sorry, Artemis got his food, so I didn't want you to hear all that. Seeing the establishment of his character, and just like, it seems weird, but the human side of him, the caring side of him, seeing that come out. And obviously Nebula's gone through her own journey in these films, this heartless killer and assassin, to learning how to be caring and have a family and be nurturing and all that stuff, and see her now want to be this role model guardian for the society, and be caring because she didn't have this growing up is great to see. Gamora, I would say, well, I get why she was there for Quill and for this, kind of collision butting heads. I would say I felt at least a little bit down on her character, not in a bad way, of just in terms of interest in comparison to the others. Same with Groot. I feel like Groot he did very well, and in the moments that he was there with like him and Peter and the High Evolutionaries ship, or the action sequence he was in, those were interesting, but I wish we got more with Groot in terms of like his connection with Rocket. We saw moments of him where he really heavily cared because Rocket is on his deathbed, but I feel like they were far and few between. I wish we got a little bit more emotion from his character, and I understand that's hard when the character only talks 3 words, or speaks 3 words of like showing or conveying that emotion, but I wish we had a little bit more weakness in him or rage inside of him in terms of stakes, because as far as I know, him and Rocket should be like thick as thieves. They should be tight, and I didn't really feel that in this film. We saw that obviously with the first iteration of Groot, and maybe based on theories, maybe that's because that was a former Groot. Like that Groot, the original, went through all the rough shit with Rocket. Then he died, sacrificed himself, and we get Baby Groot, which is a whole new Groot. Once again, theories. I think that's the accurate canon, but I don't know. Maybe it's because he doesn't have ages upon ages of backstory. He only has from the end of Guardians 1 Twig Groot to Baby Groot to Teenager Groot to now adult-esque Groot. Like, he only has that lifespan to know. I'm not entirely sure, but I wish they dove into that a little bit more. I wish we could have maybe even seen a little bit of backstory of when Rocket found Groot, but I know that might have been a little bit much in this film to kind of dive into and discover. We had to focus more on the initial stuff with Rocket and the High Evolutionary and why their connection is there. I get that. I just felt like Groot kind of lacked in terms of character in this film, in terms of personal growth, not action stuff. The side characters were fine. Cosmo obviously got the most attention in this film. Compared to the others, we actually got to see, or rather hear her talk. I don't think she's spoken in the other films. Kraglin's kind of there. Obviously, he's learning about the arrow. Finally gets his hero moment with the arrow, but he's always just kind of there. I don't know why we needed him. I mean, I know why we needed him there in terms of the ship and Nowhere, linking that up and being a supporting cast, but the fin and the arrow, he had one moment with it. I don't know if that was necessarily needed. I thought maybe he would do a little bit more with it. I don't know. That could be just a criticism that only really I am thinking about. But they were fine. Adam Warlock, an interesting one. I kind of expected more from Warlock when we got the tease of him at the end of Guardians 2 and going into this. I think in terms of presentation at the beginning of the film, that was like, oh, this is good. I honestly had forgotten about the High Evolutionary from the trailer. I was like, oh yeah, this is a good way to establish a villain and, immediate threat to our heroes, especially in their home turf. Like, oh, this is good. And then he kind of falls from there. Like, he is very, speaking on maturity level with Mantis, he's not at that maturity level. And we get an explanation, although brief, from the Sovereign of like, we pulled him out of the pod too early, where he's essentially a child still. And while I understand why they did that and to give him somewhat of a redemption, the redemption at the end, and seeing how messed up things were, I get that, but it just, I don't even have a lot of history with Warlock or any history in that matter of Warlock, but it made me instantly be like, oh, this is a joke character in a way. Like, it took away a lot of credibility from that initial interaction of seeing how he interacted throughout the rest of the film. I don't know. That could be me being maybe not petty. Maybe not petty's the right word, but a little bit super critical about it. I didn't care for it. I guess I'll put it that way. I want to see more from the character, and I want to know more about the character in terms of like, what's his power set, what's this, what's that, da da da. And glad he's already a good guy, which was a little fast, but yeah, just weird overall from like in terms of like how we were left to feel at the end of Guardians 2 of like, oh, this is something we're building, of like, this could be something that's high stakes, or at least to have an impactful punch, and then to see what it came out to. Started off good, and then just flatlined in a way. I don't know if I care about that character all that much. Where do I want to go? I don't know where I want to go. Interested to see where Quill goes from here. I assume they just said Legendary Star-Lord will return, so it has to do and tie in with, you know, the far end of Phase 6 and, like, the Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty stuff. Like, just like, hey, I'm here, I'll tie, like, just confirming he'll return for that, for some big hero moment, reunion moment, whatever it is. The rest of the Guardians, obviously, everybody's up in the air. It seems like they're going forward with the Guardians 4, at least in terms of the new team that they do have. I don't know how interesting that new team will be, if I'm going to be honest. But then again, really it's because the relationship is already established with Rocket and Groot. Like, I want to know where Rocket and Groot go, but I don't care about the rest, really. So that could just be a matter of establishing stuff, or establishing the characters more. And then in terms of that, we got really nothing in terms of world building, or rather universe building, for the rest of the story. When he's with his grandfather at the end, in terms of Quill, like, he's eating cereal, talking about normal life stuff. Apparently that newspaper was Kevin Bacon talking about something from the Christmas special, but there's no teases, there's no connective tissue, there's nothing for this grander universe like we had in Guardians 1 with the Infinity Stones, with Guardians 2 with, well, I mean, we get the Watcher, but that was more of an Easter egg type thing. I don't know if there was anything from Guardians 2. It's been a while. So yeah, not a lot of connective tissues and like things to think about and theorize about. Just a matter of like, yep, we know the team's together. It's a different iteration, and we'll have to see. And then yeah, like Warlock just, in my opinion. So yeah, overall, the film was great. I think the story was great. I think the conclusion to the Guardians trilogy, this works very, very well. Just, yeah, fucking sucks that Rocket story. Necessary. Hate it in the best ways. But I think it delivers on most of the things. And it's just in terms of, like, the Warlock stuff and where does the team go from here, a little bit of downers. I would say more of Warlock, of just his, like, how much I care for that character. Like, how I feel I should care for that character. I don't think it hits those notes. So yeah, team's broken up. We'll see where the new Guardians go from here, if they return in their own film, or if they'll just be part of the thing down the road. Phyla, apparently, if you deep dive into the comics, is some character. That's the name of the little girl in the new team. In the comics, she was, thanks to IGN for all this, I can't take any credit for it, she's the daughter of Mar-Vell, who Mar-Vell is the alien that Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, got her characters from. But Phyla only exists because of her brother, who make this faux universe, which made Phyla a real thing. It's a whole fucking thing. Obviously, they're not going that route with the character in terms of MCU canon. I don't know if it will actually mean anything or build anything. It's just another little kid involved in it, similar to how we left Thor's story. I don't know. Very weird. But everybody, that's been my thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. So you can put it down there, talk more about this film, what's going on with the MCU. Am I back on board? We'll see. I'm very excited for Marvels. That looks just fun and entertaining. So we'll see. But yeah, thanks for hanging out for another episode of the Marvel Plus podcast. If you guys ever want to check out the podcast live or any streams, you can always go over to twitch.tv/Enigma9011. Drop a follow over there, or you can catch more videos here on YouTube. You check those out as well. And any way you could support, likes, shares, comments, all that fun stuff does help out. It may seem small, but we appreciate you for it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for giving us a watch, giving it a listen, and we will see you guys on the next one. Take care.